everyone, how's it going? Welcome to my Wild Rift tier list for patch 4.4c. This is not going to be a long tier list video because there wasn't really that many changes in patch 4.4c. I just wanted to give you all an update on my tier list and focus on a few champions in every single role and focus on the changes that happened to champions in the most recent patch. As always, if you enjoyed the content, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel as well. We are going into the new year, and next year we obviously have 5.0, which is going to be quite exciting. I believe it's something like the 18th of January or somewhere around that time, so we're still quite a few weeks away from that one, so we still have to deal with the annoying champions that are on patch 4.4c right now. First up in the Baron lane, we have a few changes in the Baron lane. There's a few champions I wanted to talk about as well. The first one being Gwen. I think Gwen's buff that she received in 4.4c was really nice. Her first ability, getting more damage, helps her with trading potential in the Baron lane, also helps her a bit in the jungle in terms of jungle clearing speed as well. So I think Gwen getting a buff is going to be extremely nice and helpful. And also Yone, I've moved Yone back up into the S tier. The reason why I moved him back up into the S tier is because of the buffs that he got in 4.4c. The monster damage on the first ability doesn't really mean too much. The big thing is the shielding and the damage now on Yone's second ability. This will help him a lot when trading against other bruisers and other champions up in the Baron lane. It also helps him in the mid lane as well. But I think the second ability being buffed is going to help him a lot with trading potential in the Baron lane. It will help him a lot against champions, you know, like Fiora, Camille, Jax, Akali, you know, champions that want to trade and auto attack and deal a lot of damage overall. As for other champions, I think that there's like two other champions I want to talk about, Vladimir and Yasuo. I think both these champions have a lot of potential in the Baron lane, and to be honest, should probably sit in the S tier. The reason why they're down one lower is because both these champions don't really do too well against bruisers. Maybe Yasuo has a little bit more of a fairer time, especially if you're going for like the Grasping Undying build, but Vladimir, for example, finds it very difficult to trade against these bruisers in the Baron lane, and honestly will really struggle when you're trying to walk up and farm, because you can just get jumped on by a Camille, a Fiora, even like someone like a Yone or an AATROX. You get jumped on, you get dealt a lot of damage, you have to use your pull, which means that you are going to get put under threat of maybe getting dove underneath the tower or anything like that. I think Vladimir has a lot easier time and a lot better time in the mid lane against these mages or assassins in the mid lane, because you have a lot more trading power, and also it's a longer lane as well, so it's a little bit more difficult to it's a shorter lane, so it's a little bit more difficult for players to actually take advantage of you overstepping for minions or anything like that. Like I said, Yasuo probably has potential in the Baron lane. You can maybe go into you know, certain matchups with Grasping Undying that could be really good. Other than that, I don't really think so. Jungle, I've put one champion back up into the S+ tier, that is AATROX. AATROX is really strong right now. I've been seeing a lot of players go for like full damage AATROX builds, Duskblade, Trinity Force, Ghost Blade, you know, full damage AATROX, kind of like Zeus style from PC League of Legends in the Baron lane, but everyone's going full damage AATROX at the moment, and he is absolutely destroying everyone right now in the jungle. Obviously, he received quite a few buffs over the last few patches, so I think AATROX going back up into the S+ tier is probably no surprise to some people. Obviously, the rest of the champions in S+ tier are still very strong. We did get a little bit of a nerf to Fizz in the jungle, but I think Fizz jungle is still pretty good, and I think it's probably Fizz's best position right now, because Fizz struggles quite a lot in the mid lane as a melee champion, as an assassin, struggles a lot to get farm and everything else, so I think Fizz jungle is still pretty decent. Xin Zhao got a buff as well. It doesn't really make him go into S+ tier. I don't think Xin Zhao will ever be broken unless his numbers are completely out of this world, but Xin Zhao has gotten stronger because of the buffs that he got in 4.4c. I believe it was his attack speed on his third ability, which is quite nice, helps him with his jungle clear, and also the damage on his second ability, so overall really nice. Then we had some buffs to Master Yi. It's not going to do much to Master Yi. Master Yi is still going to sit down in the C tier. I don't think this champion will ever be at a point where he's really strong. There was a point when Master Yi was incredibly strong, you know. I think I don't even remember when it was sometime this year, but sometime this year Master Yi was up in like S tier or something like that. So it was actually really cool to see Master Yi up in the S tier for some time, but then Master Yi fell all the way down into C tier again, because over time they just nerfed him again, and the champion's very difficult to execute because you're very fond of just running forward, auto attacking, just hoping for the best. If you can't do that, then you're just going to get stuck. But everyone pretty much in the S plus and S tier is pretty good. I moved some champions down to B tier as well. Zed and Fiora, more notably, and Camille. These three champions struggle a little bit in the jungle in terms of jungle clearing and also in terms of ganking, because a lot of champions just build plated steel caps now, which makes it very, very difficult for these junglers to actually kind of pop off, because they don't do a lot of burst damage like the assassins. They more do consistent damage, I guess, over time, you can say. And Zed obviously gets countered by stasis and also plated steel caps at the same time, so it can be very difficult to execute on these three champions. But I still think that they could go into the A tier and you can still play them. I just don't think they're as strong as what they were before. Other than that, everything else in the jungle is pretty standard. For the mid lane, our four champions are still up in the S plus tier. Akali, very, very strong in the mid lane at the moment. You probably can go electrocute Akali in the mid lane instead of fleet footwork because you'll have more training potential in the mid lane. Really, really strong assassin. Zoe, really good mage as well. Just super mobile, really, really easy to catch players out. Caston as well. And Vladimir, two of the best scaling assassins, or I guess you can call it Vladimir an assassin in a way, but two of the best champions, two of the best late game scaling champions right now in the game. So both of them are in S plus tier. Obviously Yone with the buff, sitting in S tier at the moment. Again, I think Yone jungle and Yone mid lane is definitely going to come back into the meta because of the buffs that he received, again, for his trading potential and everything else. And I moved some champions down into A tier that I feel like just don't have the same impact anymore. Champions like Lucian, champions like Kai'Sa. I think these two champions, they can still work in the mid lane. Like mid lane Kai'Sa could still be okay, mid lane Lucian can still be okay, but I don't think these are both as good as someone like Corki. I think Corki mid lane is still very, very powerful because of the poke damage that you can do. More importantly, to be honest, I think Lucian could probably go into the S tier if he was stronger overall. Even with the buffs to Kraken Slayer and everything else, I still don't think he's that strong. But Corki still pretty good in the mid lane. Other than that, again, mid lane, not really too much has changed. I don't think I've moved any other champions around. I think pretty much all the champions are staying pretty much the exact same at the moment. Duo lane, I don't think I've changed anything in the duo lane. As far as there are like some question marks for some champions. I think the S plus tier is always going to stay the same for now, because all three of these champions are incredibly strong at the moment, and I don't think there is any champions that should really that are really going to knock them off of that throne. I think these two champions have a lot of damage, they have a lot of mobility, they have a lot of survivability, they have great solo carry potential, they just fit everything at the moment. Again, a few question marks, obviously with Severe being nerfed. I think it's quite interesting to see where she's going to kind of fit in. I think she's still quite strong. I don't think she's like quite S plus tier. Maybe she was like reaching the brink of S plus tier in the previous patch, but now with the nerfs, she's definitely going to stay in the S tier. Again, I feel like she has some weaknesses, things like her range and things like that. Zeri is also pretty strong. You know, Zeri could maybe fit up into S plus tier. There are some other champions that can maybe fit up into S plus tier, but I think it's very difficult to knock these three off of the throne at the moment, or think of anyone of the same scale as these three champions. A tier champions, Lucian's a difficult one. I think, you know, Kraken Slayer being buffed, Slurry Charge Blade being buffed, I think both of these do help Lucian. But at the same time, I just don't feel like he has the same carry potential as everyone else. I think it's like he doesn't have the same scaling, he doesn't have the same damage output as everyone else. He just has the early game, and that's pretty much it. If you can get ahead during the early game, then that's great. Then you can look to snowball with your early game advantage. If you don't, and if you have the same gold as someone like Isaiah or Kai'Sa, Ezreal or Zeri, you know, I'm thinking of all these champions above, I feel like you're just going to lose, which is kind of the struggle of Lucian at the moment. All these other champions in A tier I think deserve to be in A tier. Ashe obviously got the buff as well, but again, I don't think Ashe is that strong. I played her a few times, but again, I just don't feel like she has the same carry potential as everyone else. She's more of a utility bot than anything else. She doesn't have the same carry potential as any of the other hyper carries from above, so it can be a little bit difficult. And then obviously Senna and Akshan down in the C tier, but pretty much nothing else to say. Oh yeah, Varus buff as well. I got my notes on my right just so I don't forget about anything else that changed. Varus buffs as well. I think Varus is in an incredibly strong spot at the moment. You can play him like full lethality and he can be very, very strong. So I think Varus is very, very good. Again, like Varus is a weird one where he has a different playstyle to other AD carries. You think of like Tristana, Caitlyn, Zeri, Jinx, you know, all of these are auto attack hyper carries. Varus, on the other hand, you have to play a completely different playstyle. Kind of same as like Draven and Samira, Neela, you know, completely different playstyle. They can still carry, they can still, you know, do well, but they're just not on the same level as some of these hyper carries right now. Then we move into support. Again, not really much has changed with the support. SONA's rework is going to be the big talking point. There's just nothing really with SONA rework. I'll be totally honest. I've not been impressed with SONA's rework at all. I don't think it's changed anything with SONA at all. Maybe her ultimate is a little bit more viable, but other than that, I don't think she has reached the potential of maybe what Riot wanted to reach with SONA. Her auto attacks during the lane phase are quite nice, you know, that extra bit of stun, but again, she has the same problem. She struggles to scale, she struggles to do damage. Her healing has also been nerfed, like her healing and shielding have also been nerfed, so they're both a struggle at the same time. Again, so I think it's a bit of a difficult position to be in with SONA and her rework. I don't think she deserves to be in S tier at all. Obviously champions that deserve to be in the S tier are champions like Nautilus, who also received a buff in the most recent patch. Makes him a little bit more tankier. His second ability got buffed, which was quite nice, so there'll be more tankiness there on Nautilus's second ability. But S+ tier champions still say the same. You know, Yuumi, Soraka, Pyke, Karma, Janna, they all pretty much serve different roles. Pyke and Karma are like the two carries really in the support. I think you have the more supportive supports with like Janna, Soraka, and Yuumi, but all of these are still great to play. I moved Ashe down as well into B tier because I don't think Ashe support is really that good anymore. Other than that, that is pretty much everything. Like I said, I just wanted to give you all a quick update on the tier list. There's not really that much that has changed, so I don't think it warrants me actually going through every single champion again, because that's what I pretty much do all the time. And I don't want these videos to be incredibly long either. I want you all to have just a quick opinion on what I think about the changes and what I have moved in terms of the champions, like champions that have gone up a tier, champions that have gone down the tier. Again, as always, I read every single comment, I interact with every single comment, so if you do have any comments about any of the champions, or you feel like a champion deserves to be in a higher or lower tier than what you know what you feel like, then please leave a comment down below. Again, any comments about the website, any comments about like the builds or anything, maybe there might be a build that you might be enjoying on a champion that you think is a lot stronger, definitely let me know. I always take into consideration loads of different builds. You know, someone asked me recently where are my sources for my website in terms of builds. I don't really have like one source. I have like quite a few sources. Obviously pro play here in EMEA and also in China, my solo queue games in general, I always take a look at them. I watch other streams as well at the same time, so other high elo players, and I also talk to a few players as well in EMEA, just to give their opinions about some of the champions and where they feel like you know, builds can be improved and everything like that. So it's not just me myself. Obviously I have quite a lot of knowledge myself, I feel like, because I played PC League of Legends for years, and also I played Wild Rift ever since it came out. And I've reached Challenger multiple times, but there's always maybe some things that I might not take into consideration with certain builds, maybe because I forget about them, because there's a lot of champions to update. But yeah, let me know as always. Appreciate you all tuning into the video. Until next time, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.